All right, we are now on mission 10, and mission 10 is the sorting center. The sorting center is probably going to cause the most frustration for at least our younger teams because it is going to be one of the more complicated missions to pull off. So let's talk about it. First, I'm going to take away all three of these containers so we can talk about setting it up. So here are your shipping containers. Each one of these are the bays. So this whole model is our sorting center. Here we have what's called bay, bay, bay. We refer to these as bay 1, bay 2, and bay 3. This is the south end of the table. That's the north end, and there's the east end, and you can see the Cargo Connect logo right here. So this direction is north. There's a gray beam running all across the south edge, so that's the bottom. And each bay is divided into 3 shelves. There's a bottom shelf, a middle shelf, and a top shelf. All around the sorting center is a blue outline. So there is a blue rectangle enveloping the whole shipping center. So keep that in mind. Now to set up this mission, we're going to need our 3 containers. We have the orange, the lime green. This is a separate container from the one attached to the crane, so don't worry about that. And the blue container, this is not the hinged container. So keep that in mind that this is not the hinged container. So the first thing we want to do is there are a few rules. When you set up this mission, it is going to be randomized. When you see this mission at competition, it is going to be randomized. Fortunately, there are only 6 possible configurations, and we'll try to go over some of them. So one rule is that when you set it up, every bay has exactly 1 container. So there will only ever be 1 container in each bay. It may be in this order. It may be in this order. Could be in this order. And like I said, there are 6 possible configurations for the bays. So that's one thing. The next thing is that each row, so each shelf level, only gets 1. So there will be 1 container in the bottom row. And the bottom row will always, always, always have the blue container. There will always be 1 container in the middle row, in the middle shelf. That is always going to be the orange container. And then there will always be 1 in the top shelf, and that will be the green. So the way we do is we start by saying, okay, grab the blue container, and we're going to pick 1 bottom shelf. So we could randomly say we want the middle bottom shelf, and we push it all the way to the south edge of its shelf. After the blue container has been placed, we grab the light orange container, and we want to pick a middle row that does not live in this bay. So bay 2 is off limits because the blue container is already here. So I could put it in bay 1 like that, or I could put it in bay 3 like that, and it has to go in the middle. I'm going to put it in bay 1 and again pull it all the way south. Finally, the green container goes in the top bay, or the top shelf, of the bay that has nothing in it. So bay 1 has the orange container. Bay 2 has the blue container. So the green container goes in bay 3, top shelf, pulled all the way south. So this is one possible configuration. I could also configure it to say, okay, I'll put the blue container in bay 3. Blue container always goes in the bottom shelf, doesn't matter what bay. Then I can say, okay, orange container could go in bay 1 or it could go in bay 2. I'm going to put it in bay 2, but it has to go in the middle shelf because the orange container always goes in the middle shelf. And then finally, I have the green container. The only open bay is bay 1, and the green container has to go in the top shelf. So those are 2 of the 6 configurations. It would probably be a good activity for you and your team to kind of play through and think, okay, what are all 6 possible ways this could be set up? So, and that's according to the rule book on page 10 in the field setup, that is what you're limited to. So that is how you set this mission up. Again, it's a pretty simple setup, but it is complex because there are a lot of possibilities. But now let's talk about how to score this mission. So the goal of this mission is to get every container out of the blue square except for the orange container. And what the rule says specifically is that only the orange container is remaining completely in the blue storage area. So I could put it like this. It doesn't have to be in its shelf. It could be in any shelf. It could be not in a shelf. It could be across a few shelves. It could be lying diagonally, resting on the edge there. Doesn't matter. The rule is we want only the orange container remains in the blue square, and it has to be completely in the blue square. So if I have it hanging over like that, it's actually breaking that plane. It is outside the blue square on this edge. Doesn't count. Up here, same issue. It runs past the blue line. Doesn't count. Same thing over here. The only stipulation is you have to be within the blue square, totally inside, and the blue square is going to extend upward forever and ever, and you can't have any other storage containers in there. Now, this is going to be very important when we get to missions 15 and 16. These containers are going to show up again, and this container is also going to show up. Up until this point, all of the missions we've talked about have been scored in isolation. So we say mission 9 is worth 40 points. Mission 9 itself is worth 40 points, but that could be affected by other missions. Mission 10 is worth 20 points, but there are other missions that are also worth points that might rely on this part. So you could lose the points on this mission to try to get more points on another mission. That's why it's very important to remember that everything gets scored at the end, and you need to make sure you have a strategy in place. But this is the sorting center mission. It is worth up to 20 points, and the two scoring criteria are that we have only the light orange container is in totally in the blue rectangle sorting center. So that's mission 10, sorting center, and now we're going to move on to the remaining missions.